Welcome to Series Addict. At first glance, Magnum PI looks like a fantasy. A private investigator living in a Hawaiian mansion, a red Ferrari parked in the driveway, endless sunshine, ocean views, and casual charm. Thomas Magnum wears a mustache like armor and a smile like a distraction. He jokes, flirts, breaks rules, and somehow always lands on his feet. But that surface is a lie. Magnum is not a show about luxury. It is a story about aftermath. About a man who survived war but never truly came home from it. Thomas Magnum is not rich, not powerful, and not free. He is a guest in someone else's paradise, carrying invisible weight beneath every joke he tells. The Vietnam War is not backstory here. It is the spine of the series. Magnum is a former Navy SEAL, and his past is not something he occasionally references. It defines how he sees the world. He trusts instinct over authority. He relies on loyalty more than law, and he understands violence not as spectacle, but as consequence. Tom Selleck plays Magnum with an essential contradiction. He is physically imposing, confident, and charismatic, yet emotionally guarded. Magnum smiles easily, but rarely opens up. When he does, it is brief, restrained, and often painful. The show understands that trauma does not always scream. Sometimes it jokes its way through life. Robin's Nest, the estate where Magnum lives, is a visual metaphor for this contradiction. It looks like freedom, but it is not his. Magnum is constantly reminded that he does not belong. He lives under rules he did not create, answering to a voice he cannot see, the unseen presence of Robin Masters. This imbalance quietly mirrors Magnum's military past, where obedience was survival and autonomy was an illusion. Jonathan Higgins, the estate's caretaker, appears at first as Magnum's opposite. British, disciplined, obsessed with order. Their relationship is framed as comedic conflict, but beneath the banter lies mutual respect. Higgins represents structure and control, while Magnum represents chaos and intuition. Over time, the show reveals that Higgins, too, carries scars from war. Their arguments are not about personality. They are about different ways of coping. Magnum's closest bonds are with his former SEAL teammates, Rick and TC. These friendships are not nostalgic. They are necessary. They are built on shared experiences that cannot be explained to outsiders. Rick masks insecurity behind nightlife and ambition. TC finds purpose in routine and responsibility. Magnum, meanwhile, floats between them, unsure of where he belongs now that the war is over. The cases Magnum takes often reflect his internal struggle. They are rarely simple mysteries. They involve betrayal, loss, moral ambiguity, and people damaged by systems larger than themselves. Magnum doesn't just solve crimes. He absorbs their emotional cost. He often gets hurt, physically and emotionally, because he refuses to detach. Unlike many procedural heroes of its era, Magnum fails. He misjudges people. He makes mistakes. He trusts when he shouldn't and doubts when he shouldn't. The show allows him to be wrong, and more importantly, allows those mistakes to matter. Hawaii itself plays a crucial role. The setting is beautiful, but it is not escapist. The contrast between paradise and pain is intentional. Magnum lives in a place where everything looks perfect, while inside he is fractured. The ocean becomes a space of reflection rather than freedom. The sunsets don't heal him. They remind him of what he cannot forget. Tom Selleck's performance anchors the entire series. His Magnum is not a caricature of masculinity. He is vulnerable without being weak, confident without being invincible. Selleck understands restraint. He allows silence to speak. A look, a pause, a half-finished sentence often carries more weight than dialogue. As the series progresses, Magnum matures, but he does not resolve. There is no clean arc of healing. The show resists closure because real trauma does not end neatly. Magnum adapts, learns, and changes, but he never escapes himself. And that honesty is what gives the series its lasting power. Magnum is often remembered for its style, humor, and iconic imagery, but its legacy lies elsewhere. It is a quiet character study disguised as entertainment, a meditation on masculinity, loyalty, and survival in a world that expects veterans to simply move on. Thomas Magnum survives not because he forgets the past, but because he carries it awkwardly, imperfectly, and visibly. He laughs because he has to. He runs because standing still would mean facing what he lost. And he helps others, because saving them is sometimes the only way he can save himself. Magnum understands that heroes do not always wear armor. Sometimes they wear Hawaiian shirts, hide behind humor, and limp quietly into the next case. As Magnum, P.I. moves deeper into its run, something subtle but unmistakable changes. The humor remains, the charm survives, the Hawaiian sun still shines, but the weight grows heavier. The series stops pretending that Thomas Magnum can outrun his past forever. The jokes come faster now, almost defensively. Magnum laughs, not because he is happy, but because silence has become dangerous. In the later seasons, the show allows pauses to linger longer. Looks replace words. What Magnum doesn't say begins to matter more than what he does. The war never left him, but now neither does the exhaustion. Magnum's body starts to betray him. Injuries accumulate. Pain becomes routine. He pushes himself past limits that no longer forgive him. This physical decline mirrors his emotional one. The man who once threw himself into danger with reckless confidence now hesitates, not out of fear, but awareness. He knows the cost now. He's paid it too many times. The cases grow darker, fewer clear victories, more moral compromise. Magnum increasingly finds himself choosing between bad options rather than good ones. Justice becomes conditional. Truth becomes fragmented. The world he operates in is no longer a puzzle to solve. It's a system to survive. Higgins evolves alongside him. The caricature fades, replaced by complexity. His discipline is no longer just comedic contrast. It is revealed as his shield. Higgins understands Magnum more than almost anyone, because he recognizes the signs. He has seen men like this before. He has been one. Their relationship deepens into something unspoken but profound. They never say it outright, but they are family now. Not by blood, not by choice, by endurance. They argue less because they understand more. Respect replaces irritation. Loyalty replaces authority. Rick and TC also change. Their coping mechanisms begin to crack. Rick's optimism frays under disappointment. TC's sense of control is tested by forces he cannot command. The trio that once felt invincible now feels fragile. Their bond remains strong, but it is no longer effortless. Friendship, like survival, requires maintenance. Magnum himself becomes more reflective, more self-aware, and paradoxically more lost. He questions his role, his purpose, his future. Being a private investigator was once freedom, now it feels like stasis. He helps others move forward, while he remains suspended, unable to choose a direction for himself. The series begins to ask uncomfortable questions. What happens when the war ends, but the soldier doesn't? What happens when purpose fades, but obligation remains? Magnum is not building a life, he is extending one. The famous Ferrari, once a symbol of rebellion and speed, becomes something else. It breaks down, it gets damaged, it is no longer invincible. Like Magnum, it requires constant repair just to keep going. Even Hawaii loses some of its illusion. The beaches are still beautiful, but they feel quieter now. The ocean no longer promises escape. It reflects isolation. Paradise becomes a place where Magnum hides, not heals. Tom Selleck's performance grows more restrained in these years. He allows Magnum to age, to slow, to doubt. The confidence becomes layered with fatigue. The smile lingers just a moment too long. The eyes reveal what the words avoid. It is a performance built on restraint, and it elevates the series beyond its genre. Then comes the moment when the show does what it had been quietly preparing for all along. It lets Magnum die, not metaphorically, not symbolically, literally. The death of Thomas Magnum is shocking, not because it is sensational, but because it feels inevitable. The series doesn't treat it as a twist, it treats it as consequence. This is what happens when a man keeps running without ever stopping to rest. When survival replaces living for too long. And yet, Magnum does something extraordinary. It brings him back. Not as a reset, not as a denial, but as a statement. Magnum survives. But he has changed. Death is no longer abstract. It has weight now. The series acknowledges what few shows of its era dared to admit. Surviving trauma does not make you stronger. It makes you different. By the final season, Magnum is no longer chasing freedom. He is searching for peace. The questions are quieter now, the conflicts more internal. He begins to consider what comes after survival. The ending does not offer perfection. It offers possibility. Magnum does not solve himself. He does not conquer his past. He simply chooses to move forward, imperfectly, honestly, and finally on his own terms. Magnum ends not as an action series, but as a character journey, a long, patient study of a man learning that being alive is not the same as living. Thomas Magnum remains one of television's most quietly human protagonists. Not because he was flawless, but because he wasn't. He carried pain without glamour, loyalty without reward, and responsibility without certainty. He survived. And sometimes that is the hardest story to tell. If Magnum's journey stayed with you, if the man behind the mustache felt real long after the episode ended, then you're exactly where you belong. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like, subscribe to Series Addict, and keep exploring the stories that go deeper than nostalgia.